Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. It is the deep dive. I'm delighted to be joined by Josh Williams for this one. We're going to be talking through Liverpool's squad and what Arne Slot has to do to get us back to winning Premier Leagues and European Cups. So Josh, we're better placed to start really. A few years ago, we had the absolute perfect squad. The perfect profile of player. And this was done from an article. This agenda kind of came from an article you did on your Substack, didn't it?
Yeah.
But I've got the team up in front of me now so we can show you. The team that we all think about when we think about Jurgen Klopp is Alisson in goal, Trent, Matip, Van Dijk, Robertson, Fabinho, Henderson, Wijnaldum, Salah, Mane and Firmino. That's the 11, innit?
Yeah, peaceful.
It only ever played together once. We'll ignore that fact.
Yeah,
it was the Champions League final when we lifted it for the 6th time. But that was mainly because of Matip's injuries, I think, and Joe Gomez playing really well at centre-half and stuff. But that was it. And what, from that 11, what was it that was so perfect about it?
Well, that's what I mean. When you say it was perfect, it wasn't just because we had good players on the pitch. Obviously, that's a given. It was perfect in a tactical sense, and that was what I was getting at on my Substack. I think I actually compared the blueprint to the Sistine Chapel.
You did. It was a great line.
Yeah,
it was a great line.
But this is the reason it was perfect, basically.
You seen the Sistine Chapel?
Yeah.
Did you look up and think, there's Fabinho?
Yeah, actually,
Bobby.
I compared it to Firmino, to the tall guy, but he weren't having it. He just looked straight through me. But Firmino's kind of the key, behind all this. He was the first there, really. So you had a 9, and you knew he was going to do that. So if that's happening, what you need a fella who's going to do that, and then if you can get someone who uses his other foot from the opposite side to do the same, sounds great. So there's your 3. Then you had 2 really offensive fullbacks, right? You want to let them go. So they join the attacking bank of 5. Everyone there is doing exactly what he wants. Firmino's doing this, he'll do that all day. Salah and Mane running in behind, getting in the goals, threatening in behind, speed. Robertson and Trent on the flanks, creative fullbacks and that. Then you had 3 midfielders acting as a safety net because they want to. So Henderson, disciplined, greater covering ground and all this for Trent. Fabinho, ball winner, lighthouse, staying behind the ball. Wijnaldum, again, really tactically intelligent. Good ball winner, staying behind the ball and that. I think that was a little bit more of a evolution for the player. I think initially when we signed him, for me, he was a bit more of a box player who'd attack the box and score headers like a Lampard or something. So that was a bit more of like a tactical development for him over time. And then in terms of your centre-halves, you had 2, but especially Virgil, who, despite everyone kind of going, if these 2 get attacked and they're on their own, they can cope. They don't need much support to deal with 1v1s. So everyone is doing exactly what they want, and everyone's benefiting each other. Everyone's getting complimented. All the weaknesses are getting masked. Henderson, not that great in the final third, for example. Doesn't have to bother about the final third. You've got these lads here. Firmino, not much of a goal scorer. Doesn't matter. You've got these 2 lads here. These 2, both wanting to run behind, so they're not really connecting as much. Doesn't matter. You've got Firmino here. So it just worked beautifully from a tactical perspective.
And the sweeper keeper as well, if you need.
Yeah. A high line with a sweeper keeper. And even little dynamics like when we signed Virgil, we kind of unlocked elements of Salah as well. So Salah, obviously, when you're building the game, was kind of a hugging the touchline, really fast, good 1v1 and things. And by signing Virgil, you unlocked an avenue, straight there, one pass, drop of a hat like that, and then he goes straight direct at his opposite number, takes him on and stuff. So just tactically, it just worked as a puzzle. All the pieces fitted together. There was no everyone's good players, but there was no nobody clashing, nobody getting in the way, move please, none of that stuff. It was all harmonious is the word probably.
And it took a while to get there. as well. It took 3 years, 7 months and 15 days to go from Klopp's first game in charge on the 17th of October 2015 till the 1st of June, was it 2019, for the Champions League final. So as I say, 3 years, 7 months, 15 days. This was the lineup that he started with. 4-2-3-1, Mignolet in goal, Klein, Skrtel, Sakho, Moreno, Lucas, Chan, Lallana, Coutinho, Milner and Divock Origi. Now, I was there for that 0-0 draw at White Hart Lane and I enjoyed myself.
It was a great game,
the fellas ran.
Yeah.
The clappers. Adam Lallana epitomised what we would see over the next few years. But there is not one player in that side who was in the 11 for the Champions League final, and I think that's key.
Yeah.
There was lads in the squad, don't get me wrong. Obviously Milner was a massive part of what we did and stuff like that. Divock Origi was a massive part, but he wasn't in the starting 11, of course, for that game. He signed 17 players from 2015 up until the Champions League final. 8 of those 17 players, and I'll get them up in front of you now: Grujic, Kochen, Matip, Mane, Karius, Klavan, Manninger, Wijnaldum, Salah, Solanke, Robertson, Chamberlain, Virgil, Keita, Fabinho, Shaqiri and Alisson. Right? They were the players they signed. 8 of those 17 players were in that starting 11 that we mentioned from Real Madrid. The 3 players that weren't: Trent Alexander-Arnold, already at the football club, Jordan Henderson, already at the football club, and Bobby Firmino, already at the football club, but being used in the wrong position. So he's added to the players that he had, and it took him 3 years to get to that perfect sort of 11. And that kind of brings us back to Arne Slot. But before we look at that, I just want to look at the players that he signs from when Michael Edwards left. Nunes, Carvalho, Ramsey, the only defender on the list, Melo, Gakpo, McAllister, Szoboszlai, Endo and Gravenberch.
All good players, by the way.
All good players, but there's a bit of imbalance there in terms of the squad makeup and the profile of the players and everyone wanting to be together, not least of all in the midfield.
Yeah, well, if we I don't know if we can go back very quickly to the team with Lucas and Chan and that, innit?
Yeah.
But that's a terrible side. Innit? I mean, not just in terms of individuals, because they all are relatively limited compared to what we've got now, but also in terms of what I've just been talking about. Harmony, tactical blueprints, Sistine Chapels and that. That's who's benefiting who there, mate. Like, it's just... It's loads of players. Everyone, in fact, wants the ball to feet, except Alberto Moreno, maybe, will run behind for you. But everyone else is a come to feet. You know, there's no speed. There's no real... I don't think off the top of my head now. I don't think there's anyone benefiting anyone, really.
No, there's an inverted winger, but it's James Milner.
Exactly. I mean, if you want to give Coutinho space, go away from him. You don't want to be coming inside. Divock Origi, I mean, I suppose he could run behind a little bit, but again, he's not really doing much for Coutinho there. Basically, that was a team that Klopp inherited, that there was no harmony whatsoever in that. Now, I think Slot is inheriting a team that is also imbalanced, but nowhere near to that level. So, how many days was it that you said that it took? Because it won't be anywhere near that long. 1,323 days, if you wanted it in days. I said 3 years, 7 months and 15 days, but I had it down in days just in case you quizzed me. Well, it won't even be a quarter of that, I don't think, before we can solve the current one. I think the current puzzle is a little bit messy. I don't think every piece fits perfectly. I think it's unclear where certain pieces are going to be, to be honest. But there's an element of, right, what's the blueprint here? How do we fine-tune this? You know, how do we just kind of make it a little bit more perfect, where some players are benefiting each other more than now? Because I think now, season just gone, I've said this a few times, like, we've got great players playing for us, but there's an element of, like, get out my way, move, everyone step on each other's toes. Do you see what I mean? Do you agree?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, for me, what Slot needs to do more than anything else at the moment is he needs to decide, going into this transfer window, what formation he's going to be playing, Josh. Because if he is doing that, and a 4-2-3-1, with the two together and the one ahead, that is a big difference to what type of player you're trying to get than that. Now, it doesn't look like much, but I don't think we've got the player that can do the Fabinho role in the squad at the moment.
I don't think that player is necessarily even in the market either, to be honest. I think there's a few options out there, but there's no Fabinho.
Yeah, and I think if you want to fix Liverpool's defensive issues, that being Trent Alexander-Arnold doing that is going to be a struggle to fix the defensive issues. Whereas that, and I know people don't want to hear this, but that might unlock that version of Trent again.
I think...
But again, we don't have the midfielders who are going to do that.
I think the original thing with the original blueprint that we had, everything I've just touched on before, the starting piece was that, was Firmino. We knew that Firmino was brilliant. He was going to play every week.
But he made the box.
And he was going to do that. So, when you know that, you know he's going to be playing every week, you...
build around it.
It sounds cliche, but you build around it, yeah. So you get them in and all that. So I think what we need to do now, what Slot needs to do, is pick out who are my key players here, who's my Firmino. If, for example, it's Nunes, then he's doing the complete opposite and running the opposite way and hardly touching the ball. So in that sense, massive space here, that's free. Maybe you do incorporate then a number 10 and you play with 4-2-3-1, which he's been using at Feyenoord. The alternative to that is you have a 6 who can cover loads of ground, and you let the 2-8s go and do that as a team. And then there's your front bank of 5. But if you do that, number 1, you're placing a lot of emphasis on this fella to cover ground. And number 2, either him or him are going to have to help.
Yeah.
By cutting inside and helping out in the middle and that. And, you know, we have seen that with Liverpool over the past year, where, like, you know, you've had the whole Trent thing, the back 3, that sort of vibe going on. But we seem to move away from it because we don't really have the wingers to do the 1v1 stuff, really. So there's lots of different ways you can do it. If you're going to do that, basically, you might need a different profile of wide player, and you might need a different profile than Robertson there, and that's how you fix the blueprint. But if you don't want to do that and Slot wants to keep the 4-2-3-1, then, I mean, do we need a 10, do you think?
Well, I think with Szoboszlai, with Kurt Jones, with Harvey Elliott, with Alexis McAllister, Gravenberch, no, I think you've got enough.
Yeah, I don't think we need a 10 either.
But what, like, in your ideal world, let's say we'll go back to a video from a couple of weeks ago, that might be Trent, and that might be McAllister. That might be Szoboszlai or Harvey Elliott. Is that the right mix of midfielder to tackle this?
I am inclined to think that that's too offensive. I would feel more comfortable if you had Trent probably here and you had Alexis McAllister with a Moises Caicedo type. Then maybe Szoboszlai.
Literally played together as a good team as well.
Yeah. For example, you know, Manuel Ugarte is at PSG. He's not really getting games. We know he wins the ball a lot. He's like a dog in there. I think he'd be an ideal partner to complement McAllister, who can't do as much running and wants to play a bit more, wants to try things. Put someone next to him who's going to basically be Kante for him. So you've got McAllister with the ball, dictating and controlling, and on the leash here, he's literally holding a dog of a player who's anytime he loses the ball, fetch basically, yeah, give me it back. He gets it back and starts doing it again. So, but you need to start benefiting. Players need to start benefiting tactically. But to make that happen, you do need to look at what you've got and pick out the key guys. Like Salah, for example, can't really be a key guy because he's like 32. McAllister could be a key man. Trent could be a key man. Darwin, Szoboszlai, Gakpo potentially because of his age. 24.
And Gakpo gives you that versatility as well, doesn't he? I mean, Jota's obviously going to be impacted in this, but it comes back to a lot of the problems that I think Liverpool had, and Linder's mentioned it, that intensity every single week, every single training session maybe has an impact on the injuries, you don't know. But, you know, when you think of Jota and you think of Kanate and you think of, you know, that ilk of player, Thiago certainly one of them, Naby Keita was certainly one of them, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Too many injuries making the squad look more imbalanced than it perhaps was at the time.
Yeah.
Matip obviously exactly the same, certainly this season. Robertson's started to pick up injuries now as well. Salah's just had his first big injury. You know, I look at it and think, fucking hell, we need to address that. We need to get back to, there's going to be 11 players to play every week if you want them to.
Yeah.
And that I think might be his toughest thing. I mean, you got Kwanzaa or Kanate, I'd be happy with either of them. But I don't trust Kanate to play, every week. Robertson's getting on, Salah's getting on, Endo's probably not quite good enough. Diaz is hitting prime age, but is he giving you the output that you need? There's question marks always over Darwin Núñez. Szoboszlai's form fell off a fucking cliff at the end of the season. You know, maybe that's down to the intensity of the training and the length of the season and the amount of games, plus his injury and stuff like that. I think for me, if I was looking at it, I'm inclined to go, you've still got Andy Robertson, I think, close to the peak. You've still got Trent who can do that job for you. I think the simplest way to get the profile of squad is decide on the 4-2-3-1 early and buy for that. I think if he goes in there with two ideas, I think you're not going to get the best out of the squad.
Based on what you've just said then, though, it sounds like you are in favour of this dynamic again.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
So if you're in favour of that, then...
Because I think that allows Salah to do that.
Yeah.
And allows Diaz to do that.
Yeah, the only issue with it is that you've got a bank of 4 here then, maybe a 5 if the 10 helps out. But I think if that's the case, I don't think these three can be Mac, Szoboszlai and whoever that is, maybe Endo or something, or Jones or whatever. I do think one of them would have to be just a dog.
Agreed.
You know, a ball winner.
But I think to do it the other way, I think you need a world-class 6. And then, what are you doing with the defence? I don't think this is an easy fix for defence.
Which?
I think you need a world-class 6. And I'm not sure there's many out there, you said it yourself. We've got a lot of 8s, still probably too many, certainly too many to carry 110 in the side. But where are you getting your 4th from if Darwin's leading the line? So you almost need... It's got to be here, hasn't it? In which case you need probably a guy for that. You still got your defensive issues with Trent moving inside. Salah's probably not that guy anymore. There's question marks both ways, and that's why I think you've got to decide early doors, 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
Because you have to run with what's best for one formation, not what's best for two.
But even if it's 4-2-3-1 though, again you have to look at the players that you have and how to get the most from them. Like Núñez, for example, I always go back to it. He's going to run away from the ball to the box. Not many touches. You don't want him here. So if that's happening, he's going to create space for his 10. So
Agreed.
You want a 10 then, probably, who, rather than being like a Dele Alli 10, who's going to do that, arrive late and score, you want a 10 maybe who's going to be a bit of like a David Silva in the pocket, who's going to be an absolute killer if you give him like an inch in this kind of area. Have we got that? I mean, out of the ones you've just listed, I think Harvey Elliott could benefit from that. I think Mac could.
Yeah.
Szoboszlai feels
a bit more shot on the edge of the box kind of guy.
Yeah.
I think the thing with my
This is what I'm on about.
my blueprint, obviously, we sort of touched on it. I would go one or the other.
One flyer and one sitter.
Yeah, I think so.
Fullback-wise?
No. I would go keep Robertson and Trent, but only allow one at a time.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? The other, if he's there, he's there.
Yeah.
He's there, he's there.
Yeah.
That way you get your 5 and your 5 still.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that as well. I think United used to do that. I think Gary Neville touched on that like you just had to, you just religiously were drilled to like if... Who was United's left back throughout the years?
Erwin was there for years and years.
Well, if Erwin went or Everett went, Neville would stay and vice versa, and it just kind of like, you know, rotate like a
Asymmetrical.
yeah, asymmetric shape like that, yeah. But I just think I think the priority, as you say, is probably picking a formation, and then within that determining, okay, in this formation, who are my guys who I'm going to be reliant on to play pretty much every week. I'm going to hang my hat on them. I'm thinking like, just mainly because of ages and stuff, I'm thinking McAllister is going to be a big in the next Liverpool team.
Yeah.
Trent is going to be big.
Yeah.
I think Núñez should be big. I think if he's not, it's just because he can't finish his dinner. That's it for me. Because if you maximise this where he can just do that, he's really good at getting the shots. He's just not good at putting them in. If he starts putting them in, mate, he's a killer.
If he starts putting them in, he's a killer.
Well, if he starts putting them in, I mean, he's a poacher, is what I mean.
Yeah,
like he gets those. Some lads you can give that role to, and you won't see them at all game because they don't get the shots even. I don't know. But looking at the ages though, like one of the things Linda said in his interview with you recently.
The consistency stuff.
Hang on, I just forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry, looking at the Linda's interview, one of the things that he says, looking at the age of the players.
That was it, yeah. He touched on, when he was talking about Firmino and that, and the kind of block Liverpool had in the middle of the park, he mentioned that everyone was peak age in there. One of the things I loved about that original Liverpool team was everyone aged together at the same time. So you hit a point where Salah, Mane, Firmino, Henderson, Fabinho, Virgil, Alisson, Robertson, not Trent, they were all like 26, 27, 28 or something like that. So they're all proper win now. Whereas now, there's a little bit more of a gap in terms of like Virgil's 30 odd, Salah's 30 odd,
Robertson's 30 odd.
Yeah, Robertson, Diaz is 27. And then you've got your Kanate, Trent, Mach, Szoboszlai, Núñez, Gakpo, who are all much more prime age, just about to make that leap. So do you sell the likes of a Diaz and Robertson and that and make it so that everyone peaks again? When everyone's peaking, mate, that's when you hoover up all the trophies.
104 points out of 106 or whatever it was.
Yeah, 6 out of 108, yeah.
106 out of 108. I mean, that's just wild, and that's right, that comes down to the peak thing. So, what Slot has to do then? Nice and simple, one sentence to round us off.
One sentence?
Multiple sentences.
I'll give you two.
Okay.
I think he has to pick a base formation, and then beyond that, pick within the confines of that formation. These are my lieutenants, if you want. You know, that's my Firmino there. That's my Henderson, whoever. You know, some Klopp had them pillars.
This is who I'm building around. This is the spine of my team.
Yeah, these are going to play every week. These are going to be, you know, the captains of my Liverpool, and then go from there. Build around that.
Okay, there you go then. That has been the deep dive once again. Delighted to be joined by Josh again this week. We'll be back next week with 2 shows. We always do 2 deep dives, one on YouTube and one on Redmen Plus as well for you guys. This week's Redmen Plus show was actually a little bit of a deep dive into the deep dive that we did with Pep Linders. Very self-serving. Inception, indeed. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me. Yeah, it's real life. I'll see you next time.